Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/entitled people, guys, where you'll hear stories about people who truly believe that they can do no wrong and they should always get what they want. Guys, before we dive into today's stories, you gotta see this. This person says, "Dear Oak Park resident, I'm really sorry for taking the flowers out of your garden. All the grocery stores ran out and I literally went to 6 different stores. I'm tired and my mom is waiting. Put yourself in my shoes before you decide to be upset. Happy Mother's Day." Guys, this person literally uprooted someone's flowers and helped themselves to as many as they could carry. What in the world? Like, I know you tried 6 stores, man, but what about calling a 7th or an 8th? Or just freaking getting a teddy bear or something? One more? Okay. This person writes, "The day my husband asked me to pay halves on rent is the day I pack my bags." And this person comments, "And go where? You can't even afford half rent." Oh, that's so true. I love this comment right here. "Wait until she finds out about utilities." And this person comments, "She hasn't even found out about responsibilities." Those darn sponsitilities, eh? My friends, if you think those 2 people are entitled, get ready to shake your heads at the stories today. So the first story, a Karen tries to parent a grown man and lectures him about cigarettes. The second story, I know, it's wild. So the second story, a neighbor thinks they're entitled to free Wi-Fi. And we'll finish up with a woman who believes OP's dog should be banned from a pet store because it looks too scary. And spoiler alert, the dog is absolutely adorable. And the woman's cray-cray. My friends, I hope you enjoy the stories today. Stick around for a bit and do hit that subscribe button for future Entitled People stories. Let's dive in. So, the other day, I'm at Walmart and standing in the checkout line that sells cigarettes. I had a basket with me that had maybe 5 items in it. I can't remember everything I bought, but it wasn't a lot. So there's this woman standing in front of me in line, and she has a full shopping cart full of stuff. I don't complain, I'm just standing there. And note, I have bronchitis and have been tested for COVID, and it came back negative, so my doctor put me on antibiotics. I was wearing a mask, but I had to cough, so I turned my head and coughed into my arm. Immediately, the woman, Karen, spins around and starts complaining. She's saying how she has young kids at home and doesn't need to be bringing anything home to them, so please stop coughing on her. And I shouldn't even be out in public because I'm gonna spread this virus to everyone, and she goes on to say how selfish and irresponsible I am. I tell her first that I didn't cough on her. I coughed onto my arm and I had turned my head away. Second, I don't have the virus. I was just tested a day ago and it was negative. I told her that I have bronchitis and asthma and that's why I was coughing. She then goes on to berate me for buying cigarettes if I have asthma and bronchitis. She was annoying me at this point. I really just wanted to pay for my crap and go home. So I got a little snarky and made a comment that in hindsight wasn't smart, but then again, I did not ask nor want her opinion on my health or purchase choices. So I told her with a slight chuckle that if I died from lung cancer, it wouldn't be any of her business anyway. And if she was so concerned about smokers, why was she in the cigarette line with a huge cart full of groceries? She went completely insane after hearing this. She started ranting at the top of her lungs that there weren't enough lines, they were too full, and she can't use the self-checkout lines. Then, she added, "And I don't appreciate you making fun of lung cancer patients. My mother died from lung cancer, and I was with her through the whole thing. I saw what it did to her, and it's no laughing matter." She was literally in tears at this point, and people are staring at me like I just slapped her or something. By the time she made it to the checkout, she was sobbing uncontrollably and telling anybody who would listen about her mother and what she went through, and how some people could be so callous and rude. I'm just standing there wishing this whole encounter would end so I could check out and leave. After she paid and loaded her cart, I put my stuff down on the belt and told the cashier what brand of smokes I wanted. At which point, the Karen turns to me and says, "Unbelievable! You're still buying cigarettes after everything I told you?" To which I responded, "That's why I got in this line." In a huff, she says, "Don't come crying to me when you do get lung cancer. It's all on you." And then she storms off and I'm thinking, why the hell would I go crying to her? I don't even know this nut. It's not as exciting as some of the stories on here, but I thought I'd share it because it was just so off the wall that a stranger would yell at me for buying cigarettes when I'm 43 years old. Some people just amaze me. Guys, now I know in her mind she's trying to do something good. But come on, lady. OP's 43 years old and doesn't need to be parented by a complete stranger. With that said though, who's noticed that you cannot even cough or sniffle in public nowadays without dirty looks, even if you have a mask on? So I saw a lady at the grocery store yell at a man for coughing into his mask, and she literally found an employee and wanted him kicked out of the store. What a crazy, crazy time we're living in, guys. And speaking of crazy, what would you do if you had a neighbor who demanded your Wi-Fi password because they were too cheap to pay for internet? That's what happens to OP in this next story. So I'm an uber geek. I've been an IT person since 1993 and have a lot of high-end equipment that I use at home. I purchase business-grade equipment often instead of using consumer-grade equipment. It's more expensive, but it works a lot better and has some cool features. So when I moved into my last home we were renting, our landlords ran a small business. He just had a single computer that was used very rarely for internet. I was getting internet installed into the house and told him I would set up my equipment, and then instead of having to pay for DSL, which was very slow, he could just use my Wi-Fi because it would be super fast. So I proceeded to get my service, and then set up my 2 access points on different channels, but with the same name, so you can roam around the house and outside the whole yard and have great coverage. I then take my landlord's computer and connect it to my Wi-Fi, and he's just as happy could be. And here's where the entitled neighbor comes. As part of this, my landlord turns off his DSL and sends back the cruddy DSL router to the telephone provider. A few days later, I hear a bang 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 on my back door. I open it up and find my neighbor, aka Karen. Me, with a confused look, said, "Hello?" followed by an awkward silence. Karen says, "Hi, I just wanted to know when you were going to get your internet fixed." I told her my internet's working fine, and why are you in my backyard? Karen looks around and says, "I always come through the backyard here. I'm friends with your neighbor on the other side, and I always walk through the backyard as a shortcut. It doesn't matter, I cut her off and said, "Don't walk through my backyard, my wife will get scared. I also have a Great Dane, and if she's in the backyard, she's not going to be happy with you just walking in, and I don't want you to get hurt or for her to get out." Karen says, "I don't care about your dog. I want to know why your internet's not working." I told her my internet's working fine. In fact, I'm using it right now. And Karen says, "Well, it's not working for me." So at this point, it dawned on me what she's saying. I guess I was slow that day. I thought she came over because the internet wasn't working, and she'd figured I knew why because mine wasn't working either. I wanted to clarify, and I asked, "Are you saying your internet's not working and you're wondering if mine isn't working also?" And she says, "No, my internet was working fine until a few days ago. Now the Wi-Fi that I used to connect to isn't there anymore, but I see a really strong other Wi-Fi named." And then she names my Wi-Fi. I then told her, I see. So the Wi-Fi you used to connect to was under my landlord. I didn't know he gave you the password, but he no longer has that service. The only Wi-Fi left in this house is mine." Karen says, "I see. Well, thank you for making the Wi-Fi a lot better. I used to hardly get a signal before, but now when I look at the Wi-Fi in this area, I see 5 full bars from your new one. That's great. I just need the new password." I told her I'm not giving you my Wi-Fi password and you need to get your own internet service. And she says, "What? You have to. I had the old Wi-Fi password and you have to give me your new Wi-Fi password." I told her I don't. I pay for the internet connection here and I'm not giving you my Wi-Fi password. And that's when she turned a little hostile and she says, "Well, that's not fair. I'm gonna call the landlord and tell him he needs to kick you out." I told her to have fun with that, and by the way, stay out of my backyard or I'm gonna let my dog out next time and call the cops. So I closed the door as she's fuming at me and watch through the window as she marches out of the backyard. I also pick up my phone and call my landlord to let him know what's going on. My landlord tells me that he didn't even know that my neighbor was using his Wi-Fi. Anyway, the story does not end there. So a few days later, I start getting notifications from my access point that someone's trying to break in. This is another great feature of the business class equipment I have. It sends me a notice that a device at a MAC address is trying to use a program to guess my password. So being an uber geek, my Wi-Fi password is 15 characters long, with upper, lower, and numbers. So she's probably not gonna guess it anytime soon. Just to be on the safe side, I also disabled the broadcasting of the name. So that weekend, I'm out in my front yard with my laptop doing some work. My neighbor sees me and starts talking to me much more friendly this time. She says, I noticed that your Wi-Fi is no longer online. I guess the landlord made you take it down, huh? Serves you right. I look at her with a bit of a confused face because I'm working on my laptop, which obviously means I would be connected to the internet. But I guess she doesn't think this way, and I said, no, it's working fine. I talked to the landlord and he just laughed when I told him the story. Karen says, I'm not seeing your Wi-Fi anymore, so I know you're lying. I told her I changed it so it's not broadcasting the name anymore. That way, you don't keep trying to break into it. It was sending me emails that you were trying. Karen, sputtering, said, That wasn't me. It was probably somebody else. Anyway, you should give me your password. It's not fair that I used to have the old Wi-Fi here and now I can't use the new one. I ended up telling her that it's not fair or legal that she was stealing the Wi-Fi that used to be here. I also told her that I put up a camera in my backyard just to make sure she doesn't try to go through there again. And if she does, I will be turning over the footage to the police, as she would be trespassing and I will be pressing charges. She ended up walking back into the house while I was still in the front yard. I would run across her from time to time after that, walking on the sidewalk in front of my house to get to her friend's house on the other side, always glaring at me. I just waved and laughed. Guys, that is one crafty Wi-Fi thief. She literally tried to hack his Wi-Fi, guys. She used a program to generate passwords to try to get into OP's network. If I was OP, I would just let her connect and throttle her speeds, or have the internet cut out sporadically. I would have so much fun with that entitled neighbor. So moving on to the last story, apparently OP is not allowed to take her dog into a pet store because of the breed. So today I had to take my dog to the vet for her semi-annual blood test. She absolutely loves going to the vet and was super excited to go play with all the techs. Afterwards, we walked to the pet store just down the street because she's definitely on the nice list and deserves a new toy for Christmas. Now, my dog is an Akita, so she's pretty big and I understand that she's a little scary looking. She's also super gentle and seems to understand that kids, especially, can be intimidated by her. So when she sees new people, she won't run up to them, but she'll get excited and start wagging her tail, which is adorable because it's a curly cinnamon roll. So as a result, I don't feel the need to do anything like pull her away from scared people. I honestly think that only makes things worse because she'll wait for them to come up to her anyway. So we walk into the store and it's pretty quiet. We're just heading towards the dog toys and my dog is laser focused on the table of treats. A mom and her kid walk past and he points to my dog and calls it a wolf. The mom then stops me and the following conversation happened. She says, "Excuse me? That breed is banned. You can't bring it in here." I told her I'm pretty sure the store doesn't have a banned breed list because it's a pet store. And she says, "I don't care. That's a wolf hybrid and it's scaring my kid. You need to leave." I told her I'm sorry that your kid's afraid of dogs, but she's not a wolf hybrid and she's not bothering you. So this whole time, we were standing next to the treat table, so the dog hasn't moved an inch closer to them, and she's just staring at the food with her tail wagging. And the lady says, "My son is scared. You two need to leave." I told her no, and at this point, my dog decided that these two must be friends. She took a step towards them with her tail wagging at top speed. She stretched her head towards them, though they were 2 to 3 feet away, and she asked for pets, and the kid was just frozen staring. The mother just picked up her kid and walked the other way. I just grinned and went back to look at the dog toys, and when I went to check out, the cashier told me that the lady complained about my wolf hybrid, and they had to tell her that all dogs who aren't acting aggressively are more than welcome in the store. The lady was ignored, and my good girl got 2 treats from the nice worker. Not a very climactic or crazy story, but I was amused that some crazy lady thought a dog shouldn't be in a pet store. So OP posted a picture of her doggo, and check this out, guys. Who in their right mind would ban this cutie from a pet store? Look at that adorable face. Look at it. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r/ entitled people. Guys, thanks for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed the stories. If you missed the last episode of r/ entitled people, you'll get to hear about a military wife who throws a fit over not getting her order after a restaurant is closed. It's a wild one. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.